Welcome to the RebelRebel Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Dargie. The RebelRebel Podcast is a show that celebrates creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. It's a love letter to those people who think audaciously and act courageously in the pursuit of making the world a better and more interesting place. Thank you to Make More Creative for producing the show and helping us reach people in 65 different countries. 65 and growing. That's incredible. If you're a creative rebel with a story to tell, or you know one, head on over to the RebelRebelPodcast.com and fill out the guest request form. We'd love to hear from you, first of all. And second of all, who knows, you might be the next guest on our show. And while you're thinking about all that stuff, why don't you like, share, subscribe, wherever you do that stuff and wherever you're seeing this or hearing this. Every time you interact with the show, it helps us more than you know. So if you could just do that little thing, we sure would appreciate it. And you know, if you feel so inclined, head on over to our store. We got some cool merch. There's some great shirts. There's even a coffee mug to help you wake up in the morning, which is kind of fun. Well, the coffee mug won't help you wake up, but what you put in it will. Or if you'd like to become a sponsor, just send us a note to studio@therebelrebelpodcast.com. In this episode, you'll meet Miki Agrawal. She's been recognized as one of the most creative people by Fast Company. She was also named one of the most impressive women entrepreneurs by Inc. Among her many achievements, she is the kick-ass and amazing human who founded Tushy, the modern sustainable bidet company. Her story is amazing, and this episode is action-packed with immediately usable advice for creative rebels and entrepreneurs no matter where you are on your journey. And it includes her time-tested and proven 3-step process to changing culture through brand storytelling. You're going to love this. Also, as an added bonus, use the code RebelRebel, wherever I put it, at hellotushy.com and get 15% off. New year, new rear, as they say. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of The Rebel Rebel. Welcome to The Rebel Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargie. And way down south in Austin, Texas, I have got Miki Agrawal with me. Miki, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing so good. We're having springtime again in Calgary. So it's not as warm as it probably is down there, but it's really nice. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
Now, Miki, for those that don't know, you have got some kick-ass companies that we're going to talk about, but I'd like to sort of turn it over to you to bring us up to speed. But I am like so passionate about your companies, it's ridiculous. I'm like an evangelist, a whole nother level. But one of your companies is Tushy. So hellotushy.com is the thing. It's a kick-ass. Well, I don't know. Is it kick-ass? A kick-ass bidet? It's the most amazing thing.
It's a bidet attachment that actually clips onto your existing toilet. And in 8 minutes, you have a bidet installed on an existing toilet. And it takes no plumbing or electrical required. And it literally is transformational in like it's the most transformational thing you can do for your bottom.
Yeah. So to that point, I mean, this is, it changed my life. I'm not going to lie.
Love it. Tell me how and why.
Okay. Well, so my partner and I, Jennifer, we traveled, we used to travel pre-pandemic quite a bit, and we ended up in Asia, and we got introduced to, bidets in Asia, which are prevalent all throughout. It's just such a great way to clean yourself Anyway, so we came back, we did some more traveling. Then the pandemic happened. Then the great toilet paper crisis of, 2020. And I don't know, I think that, Tushy was sort of floating around my, the world. I was aware of it, but I just wasn't, I had a bidet when I was married. It was like one of those 1980s bidets, like a separate thing. It was very complicated. I didn't understand it. It scared me. But then your story and your brand caught my attention, and the promise was it would clip onto an existing toilet, and it was easy, and it took no extra anything. And I'm just like, I can do this. And, I don't want to have to worry about running out of toilet paper, in this new world. So we got one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got one. It showed up right away. It was insane. And I installed it, and I'm not a super handy guy. I'm a little handy, but I'm not super handy. But 8 minutes, totally. Yeah, 100% done. Clean butt. So happy I bought one for my kids. Everybody I know now has a Tushy.
I love you. That's awesome. I mean, honestly, we always say selling one Tushy basically is like selling 5, because the person like loves it so much. They want it for their second toilet. They want to give it to their family and friends. It's because it's such a transformational thing. And most people, like, think about it in your life. It's like, what's that transformational anymore in your life? There's very few things that feels like, oh my God, there's life before Tushy and life after Tushy. It's just not the same.
It's so true.
And we have like
It's so
3
true.
million customers who agree.
Yeah. You have nailed it. And anyway, so I mean, that's my experience. We have one in every bathroom of our house. We've got one for our kids. It is like, it's everywhere in our world right now. And I mean, your advertising and your storytelling, and that's one of the things I want to talk about today, is so brilliant and just so lovely, because you have mastered the art of tackling the taboo. And I kind of want to talk about that, but I'd first like to, talk about what you're up to right now, Miki.
In this exact moment, or
like what's happening in your world right now? Like what's Miki's life like?
In this exact moment, I've decided, after 3 years of living on the lake in this beautiful lake property, I'm looking at the lake right now. Here, I'll turn around and show you. That's like
oh my gosh.
That's the lake. It's Lake Travis. Wow. It's so pretty. But I've consciously uncoupled from my husband, and we're besties now, and we share a gorgeous 6-year-old kid, and I just want to move a little closer to town because I can be with all my friends, and so nice. I am now, like, I have a photographer here, like, taking photos of the house and getting it ready so that we can put it on the market. So it's like a big kind of thing in my life, and then obviously, building Tushy is my primary focus. I have another next company that's in R&D right now, which I'll talk to you in the next time we talk.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. And you had, now you're not, I'm not going to say you're not involved, but are you still involved in Thinks?
I sold it to Kimberly Clark in 2019.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought, but you don't have a hand in that anymore.
No. I wish I did, because it needs some help. It needs some help, but It's okay. No, I actually don't. I'm so happily moved on. It's now a grown up. It's just got to figure out his own stuff,
Right. Oh, that's so, yeah. Okay. I get it. Wonderful. So, can we talk about, I guess, what is it about you that is, and maybe I got to put words in your mouth, but it seems to me that you're fearless about your authenticity and kind of unapologetic about tackling taboo subjects.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I guess, I'm half Japanese, half Indian. I grew up in French Canada, in Montreal and Montreal, and I grew up in a very multicultural community, and moved to the United States for college. I've had just constantly offered so many different perspectives on every topic. And so there was never like, this is the way it is. This is the way you do things. It's like, well, in Japan, they do it this way. In India, they do it this way. In Canada, they do it this way. United States, do it this way. In all of my friends, cultures, they do it these ways. And so I just got exposed to, like, the permission to question. It's like, wait, is there a better way? Is that the only way? Is there another way? Can there be other options? And I think in the world that we live in, that's oftentimes so homogenized, or oftentimes so, like, like there's kind of blinders on. I feel very lucky that I grew up in a very multicultural household in Canada, very multicultural world, where I was just allowed to question everything. And so when you're questioning things like, why is a women's period taboo? Like, why is it uncomfortable to talk about? Why is going to the bathroom pooping? Why is that a thing that's so shameful? Yes, it's smelly, and but everybody poops. Honestly, when you become a parent, all you talk about is your baby's poop. And so all of a sudden there comes a point in time where you're like, can't talk about it. It's taboo. You can't, if you run away from the bathroom, it's gross. It's what, but it's like, everyone does it. How do you do it in the cleanest, most effective, most, like, lovely way as you possibly can? And I think we've been stuck in the ways of doing things. Like, the way women manage their period, the way we go poop hasn't changed. Literally, the way we go to the bathroom using dry toilet paper hasn't changed since the late 1800s. I mean, toilet paper was sort of like proliferated by the Scott's brothers, who had the money to promote Scott's paper and they
Right.
and in this country, and create this consumable product that you have to use over and over and over again, not thinking about the long-term effects of the environment, the fact that
Yeah.
we're now killing over 15 million trees every single year for toilet paper consumption, not taking account your health and hygiene and the actual effects of it. We're talking
Yeah.
chronic, millions and millions, 30 plus million cases of chronic UTIs, hemorrhoids, fissures, itching, bacterial vaginosis, all these things. Plus, I mean, just the grossness of using just dry paper to wipe yourself, which doesn't even clean you. Like the
Yeah.
rest of the world uses water to clean everything in our lives. And why are we
Yeah.
using dry paper to smear around poop and then sit on fecal matter? And that's why you're getting infections and disease and spread of viruses and bacteria. All of that's done through fecal matter. So, and we're
Wow.
stuck in the 1800s. Why? Because it's taboo. No one wants to talk about it. And therefore, nobody's innovating. And so there's a huge opportunity to innovate. I mean, bidets have existed globally now for, a long time. I mean, bidets
Yeah.
are ubiquitous in Asia, many parts of Asia, Europe and South America and Middle East. There's parts that there's, bidets everywhere. But in America, there's many, many cultural reasons why bidets have not been adopted. One is the American soldiers went to Europe and fought, and they saw bidets in French brothels during World War II. When they came back, they were like, we were never in brothels when they came back to puritanical America. And so they basically didn't adopt the bidet. And so there's just lots of dumb cultural reasons that it's time to change.
Yeah. I love it. Well, and I find that like you hit the right amount of marketing, I think, in my inbox, because I get a lot of stuff in my inbox, but I always welcome the messaging from Tushy, because it's cheeky, to be to be on brand.
Mhm.
But it's honest, and it's the fact that, I don't want to make too big of a deal of this, but the fact that you celebrate this part of our existence, which is, it's a big part of our existence. And the fact that we've been, butt shaming ourselves for so long, and the fact that now we can talk about it, we got that conversation and be like, this is such a better way. And I'm here to evangelize like people listening to this. You got to change, because it will blow your mind. Yeah.
It's actually life changing, and I think for me,
Yeah.
like the reason why I started the company was because I had developed over the years of building companies for so long and pushing my body past its limits. I developed a hyperthyroid condition, which I've now cured like 2 years later. But during
Oh,
the
wow.
acute period, one of the side effects was pooping a lot because your body's in overdrive. And so, like, anytime I ate or drank water, I would just poop a lot. And so
Wow.
I was like pooping like up to 8 times a day. And this is not even just not an exaggeration. It was such
Oh,
an inconvenience, and I got down to like 100 pounds. I'm already tiny. Like, it was like really scary for a minute
oh
because my
my
body
God.
was just overdriven. And so I would just go to the bathroom and wipe and wipe and wipe and wipe. And it was not clean poops. It was messy poops. And so I eventually had to jump in the shower and
Yeah.
just like wash my butt because it was so chapped and in so much
Uh,
pain.
yeah.
And then for Valentine's Day, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, who was, we married for 11 years, and he um, got me a bidet for Valentine's Day. And it totally changed my life. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make the best in class affordable bidet attachment in America that clips onto existing toilet, make it really cool, really, really relevant to the American cultural sort of consciousness.
Yeah.
And then just express and just share how it's changed my life. And then you look at all the different use cases. If you have any one of those chronic issues down there, UTIs,
Yeah.
hemorrhoids, fissures, if you have, any mobility issue, if you have any GI issue, you don't have clean poops, you have messy poops constantly and you're having to wipe and wipe, it's gross. Or if you
Yeah.
have elderly, they're just so, or if you care about the environment, you don't want to, hurt the planet, or if you care about your pocketbook and don't want to keep spending money every single month. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year for a family, on
Yeah.
toilet paper alone. And so
Yeah.
it's just like, it's a total net positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And every woman friend that we've ever gifted one to has appreciated the hell out of it as well.
Right. When you're on your period, before sex, after sex. I mean, a woman, like when I was pregnant, I had hemorrhoids and I was
Mm.
just like, just soothing it. And it's
Yeah.
just like all of those things after you give birth, you're chapped. You want to
Yeah.
like so it's a huge, huge product for the maternal community, 100%.
Yeah. I love you for bringing it into the spotlight. I think it's great.
And thanks for
So
getting it. Thanks for really getting it.
yeah, well, it's you tell a great story, and I think that one of the things that maybe doesn't get talked about enough, from when you're marketing something, you're putting something out in the world, like the impact that it actually has on real people that are out there in the world, is that I noticed the truth of it. And I noticed the reality of it, and the promise that you make is delivered. And it's not just that, and we've said this a couple of times, it is life changing. And what you've brought to, what'd you say, 3 million people
Yeah, 3 million people, over 3
is,
million people. Yeah.
yeah, is life changing. And the fact that you buy one, you'll now have five, or you'll gift them. And I think both I've got two boys, adult boys, and they
Mhm.
were, when I gifted to them, because they have significant others as well, and they're just like, oh, awesome. Right, like suddenly, anyway, so I love that you've done it. I
It
love that
feels
you,
obvious.
yeah, totally obvious that it's not a weird thing to gift someone. So it might be too late for Christmas, but I will tell you
Not
that
too late,
you
not too late. You can get on Amazon till like pretty much, very quickly.
there you go.
And we have boxes called a shit ton of tushies and a butt ton of tushies. And
Oh
so
my
if
god.
you're like want to sling them for Christmas, like your whole family as a gift, we have like boxes. Literally, you can get like 5, which is like a butt ton of tushies, or like 10, or 7, which is like a shit ton of. We just like it's just funny.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to pop into the show and remind you that Tushy has given you the code RebelRebel, wherever that is, for 15% off when you shop at hellotushy.com. Do it. Do it now. It will change your life, or do it after the show. Listen to the rest of the show, then go do the thing. Go to hellotushy.com. RebelRebel is a code, 15% off. It will change your life. Do the thing. I love it. I like that you just have leaned into the whole thing as well. I think that just it tickles my sensibility, and the fact that nothing is off. Um, I don't know. You approach it so respectfully, and I guess having now met you, I get it. This is you. This is a connection. So that's cool. You've got a book, by the way, called "Do Cool Shit,"
Yeah, do cool
which
shit. And I have a second book called Disrupt Her. So like do cool shit,
yeah.
disrupt her. But do cool shit was a foreshadowing. I didn't even know I was going to start a bidet company before I wrote the book.
What?
I wrote the book in 2013 when I only had my
Yes.
restaurant.
Yeah.
And
Holy
so
crap.
I opened my first business is I opened New York City's first gluten-free pizza concept, and they're still around 18 years later, which is
Right.
crazy.
That's
Um,
wild, right? Eat, drink,
Called
wild.
Wild. Yep.
Yeah.
Eat Drink Wild on Insta. And yeah, so the book Do Cool Shit is really around how to go from step 0 to step 1 in business and in life, and how to think about like how to raise money for the first time, how to get press for the first time, how to even come up with your idea and decide that's where you want to go and spend the next while on this concept. Like how do you
Mm.
actually get a meeting of the minds of every smart person you know to help you ideate in your business? How do you kind of come back up when you have setbacks? Like there's so many, and it's told through like kind of fast-paced, story-driven book. So it's not like a how-to business book where you're like by page 3 you're dead and bored, or
Yeah.
it's not like just a book on like an autobiography by someone, and then they're like, and then I raised $1 million, and you're like, but like how? Like what
How?
did you
Yeah.
say in the first meeting? How did you get your first meeting? How did you send an email? What did it say in the email? So like in my book, it like tells you like actually granularly what I wrote in emails to send to people, like what I did to raise the first like $250,000 for my first restaurant when I had no experience whatsoever at 26 years old. Like all the steps, how I got the New York Times to come to my little tiny pizza shop on the Upper East Side. And Florence Fabricant herself came to my restaurant, FloFab. She's like the New York Times food critic. And she came to my little pizza shop, not a chef. I had nobody. And like she came and she covered centerfold, middle of like the food section of New York Times.
What?
And it was like, so it's just the book covers like how every single little piece came together for my first business, how to go to step 0 to step 1 in business. And like,
Wow. How how okay, let me ask this question. Where do great ideas like this come from?
So actually, in my book, Do Cool Shit, thanks for asking. It's a good layup. I basically write down 3 questions that I ask myself before starting any business.
Okay.
The first question is, what sucks in my world? So it has to be a problem that sucks in my life first. Because like when something is a problem in your life, you want to solve it. And then the second question is, does it suck for a lot of people? Because if it's just a you problem, then like there's not really like a fit for an opportunity as a business. Yeah. So there's no market. But if there's a real market for it, like every woman has a period accident in their lifetime 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
Everyone has a dirty butt because they're not using water. I had a stomach ache, which is why I started New York City's first gluten-free alternative farm-to-table pizza concept. And now it's like, that was before gluten-free, farm-to-table, local, organic, seasonal, or any kind of conversations back in 2004, 2005. It was not. Subway sandwich was like the healthy place. And so I just was like, ugh, like these things suck in my world. Does it suck for a lot of people? 1 in 5 Americans are lactose intolerant. 1 in 5 Americans now eat gluten-free. Like I said, everyone has a period accident. Everyone has a dirty butt. These are huge market opportunities. And then the third question, which is the most important, is, can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? Because it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. People are like, oh my God, Tushy just popped up out of nowhere. No, we're actually 8.5 years old. Things is 10 plus years old, or not 9 years old. Yeah. And it's just sort of like, my restaurants are 18 years old. And so people have to feel like, they're like, I'm going to start a t-shirt company with cat memes on the front. And it's just like, that's A, not solving a problem. B, it's going to be outdated in 5 seconds. And C, you're going to be bored. You're not going to be passionate about cat memes for more than like 5 seconds. Yeah. So it's like, you have to really be able to like picture yourself sitting in something that you can be like, yes, like for me, like, can I be passionate about women's issues? Yes. Can I be passionate about food and like giving myself the healthiest comfort food in the world? Yes. Can I be passionate about having clean poops and saving the planet rest of my life and elevating people on the planet? Like that's my thesis for like my own, all the projects I launch are supporting people and the planet. It's like a, thing.
It seems maybe obvious, but maybe it's not obvious. Why you? Like, why Miki? I mean, you talked about, being, inspired by all these people, different cultures and different perspectives all around you, but why you?
Well, it's so interesting. I'm not like, oh, like I'm going after this taboo. Like, it's not like,
yeah, no,
it's not like, it's not like, I'm not trying to like enter industries that are taboo and become like the taboo person. Everyone wants to pigeonhole you as a thing. And I've now realized that like, I am in the business of unmentionables. That's not because I want to, it's because there's clearly a huge gaping problem in these areas that are affecting my life. Every time I have my period, it's like my very first time. And I'm like running around looking, and now I have my things and I'm like, great, and so I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about like you said, it's transformational going to the bathroom. So for me, it's not like, it's actually answering the question, what sucks in my world? It's not like, it's not me, special me. It's just literally like, if anyone is starting something and figuring it out as they go, why can't I as well? Like I can do that. And that's
okay.
Right. Like, it's like I'm as much as somebody as anyone else. And I think also watching my father came to America from India with $5 in his pocket, classic Indian like story. My mom came from Japan, barely speaking any English. And my dad met. And in like 1 year, they had 3 kids. They had my sister, then they had the 2 of us 11 months later. I'm a twin, identical twin. And it was sort of like, they had to figure out how to make it happen, for their lives. And I think, my parents, no connections, they had no money. They had no, like, just nothing. And like growing up, they're like, wait a minute, the kids need to go to a gifted children's summer camp in the summer because there's like sports camps. And my mom started the first gifted children's summer camp and there was like hundreds of kids in it for 15 plus years. And it's amazing. And just no experience, just figured it out and just made it happen. And my parents were like, oh, and in like the early mid 90s, they were like, oh, electronics are the future. And they basically started this like electronics kits company that like a kid can learn, like, you get, it comes with a little breadboard and transistors and resistors and diodes and switches.
Cool.
And you can make little burglar alarms and little switches with lights flashing and little sounds like, and then they sold these little kits all over Canada to schools. They didn't. My mom was like, she was like, I'm the presidente of T-Prof. And she's Japanese. And my dad like wrote the manual and it's like so cute. My mom drew the pictures and made the box.
Oh.
And they just like, it was the cutest thing ever. And then they just kind of sold it to like school, and it's a small business. It was really modest and sweet, but like just watching them also like growing up, like all of our birthday parties and the New Year's Eve parties it would be like games that they would invent. So like all the kids coming to our birthday parties
Fun.
had to know your current events for the year or you were not allowed in the house. So my parents were like, if you're 5 years old, you have to know like who's the president of China or whatever. And my parents made these yes, no flags. And they're like, is the president yes or no? And it's like, yes and no. And so they would just invent these games, these creative games for us. And
wow.
It went till we were 18, 19. My Easter egg hunts were like walk 125 paces northeasterly, and you will see a babbling brook. And from the babbling brook, go walk 65 paces west, north, whatever. And then it was like these elaborate things. And I think they just instilled like creativity, like go get it done, do stuff, make it happen, throw parties. Don't have to have money, resources, anything to go and just like have a big life, And I think it was, we went to school 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, French school, Saturday, Japanese school, Sunday, Hindi school. My parents tricked us into believing every kid went to school 7 days a week. And so just stuff like that. It's just like, I owe a lot to my parents. My dad was our soccer coach. My mom was our assistant coach. Like, amazing.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. That is really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Love it. So couple things. So first, I wonder if this is a Canadian thing. So my mom and dad would put out these elaborate Easter egg hunts as well. We would go for like probably half a marathon. We would end up canoeing down rivers.
Yes.
We'd be climbing trees. Like it was epic. Every year was an epic adventure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So fun. But soccer, tell me about soccer. 'Cause you're a professional.
Yeah, I played for the New York Magic. It's like the farm team for the Power. It's considered semi-professional, but it's in the professional league. It's kind of weird in the women's whatever. But I wasn't paid, but I had all my things paid for. So it's kind of, anyways. But yeah, it was for the New York Magic, and it was like, I played for Cornell all 4 years, Division I. I played my whole life growing up, and I was recruited to Cornell. My twin sister and I were recruited as like a 1-2 punch at Cornell. And then I played for the Magic for a couple of seasons until I had like 3 knee surgeries, and then I hung up my cleats. But soccer was like one of those, again, formative life experiences where it was like, it taught me that like you get beat by someone to a ball, you have to get back up in the next play. You don't have time to go and sulk in the corner. You have to get back up and just keep going. And I think being in a team, like competing, winning and losing, like we live in a world where it's not like, oh, participation trophy. Like, no, actually, like, there's winning and there's losing. And like, do you have a winning mentality or do you have a losing mentality, or do you not care? Like, it's good to have a winning mentality. Like, how do you teach that? Well, sports.
Yeah.
So I really, really love my son Hero. He's been playing soccer since he's 3. We call him Hero-Naldo. He was highest goal scorer after first season. He sucked. Second season, he figured it out. He scored a goal, his first goal, half second season. By season 3, highest goal scorer in the league. And like they went the entire season, like 8 games undefeated all the way through, like to the, it was insane. It was amazing. And now he's playing big goals, new goalie with the goalie. He hasn't scored a single goal yet. He scored 1 goal. Actually, at last game, he scored 1 goal. But it's now new because it's no longer the small goals with no goalie. Now it's bigger goals with a goalie. So now he's got to step it up. And he's like, once again, sulking and crying and whatever. So I'm like, Hero, it's a new game. You got to get after it. You got to go defend. Now you got to go up against a goalie, and you've got to, now start to figure out angles, and you got to, And so it's like each time it's learning. It's, he's a bit of a diva. So I'm like teaching him how to like get back in there and, not sulk if he's not, because he was a best player in the league. And now he's like getting his like ass handed to him, in this
Nice.
next level up, because we went to a new league and a new place where the kids are so good.
Yeah.
And so it's good. You want to play higher.
Yeah, that's just going to up his game. I think that's great. I coached my kids for 12, 13 years. I love soccer. I think it's the most amazing game, and I love the hell out of it. And little kids playing is just such a, I don't know, watching go from clot ball to suddenly, actually playing Div 1, holy, it gets my hairs on my arm.
That's awesome. Yes.
That's so
I feel
cool.
that too. I love that you I really want to start coaching Hero as well. And it's something that I'm like kind of the unofficial assistant coach,
nice.
But I want to get in there and head coach I feel like I'm going to be a little too competitive. So I have to
kids, they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah. I don't think I got, it was funny. We transitioned our kids we brought in professional players from the UK actually at one point because they were playing at such a high level. So this was I think when they were U18, maybe even U17, we brought in some players from Brighton and Birmingham and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's such great life experience. I mean, we went to the national championships in Canada, and I went with the Italian team in Montreal, and we got to meet all the Canadian teams from around the country, and it was such an honor, and it was a real life experience, putting your tracksuit on and representing your totally. Province of Quebec, and really cool.
Oh, yeah. That's wicked. Well, Hero is very lucky. And let's talk about Hero for 1 sec. And because Hero the Wise, I read this thing on your website, which I just loved. And I don't know how old he was when he said this, but he said, when things aren't good, they're still good. Does that still resonate?
He really has a glass half full outlook on life, outside of when he's going from the best player in the soccer field to not. Yeah. Outside of that, he's got a really beautiful outlook on life. And he, Andrew and I, his dad and I, we consciously uncoupled. It was really beautiful. And we sat him down and we're like, hey, Hero, what do you think about, mama and dada, living in different houses? We're best friends. We're going to do family time every weekend. We're both going to come to soccer games. We're still going to have family meals during the week. We've just transitioned to friends. How does that make you feel? He goes, great. And I was like, why? He goes, because I get to spend specific time with mama and specific time with dada. And I get to spend really good quality time with both of you. Wow. And I get 2 rooms and, 2 rooms. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then when Andrew's dad passed away recently, we sat him down and we were like, hey, grandpa's gone, what do you have to say about that? Yeah. And he puts his hand on Andrew's shoulder and he goes, it's okay, dada. Everybody dies at some point. And really, he just has this wisdom about him that's wow. Really, really tender, special. And yeah, I feel very he's just a cool kid. He's a cool kid.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, apple tree, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I can see where that probably came from. I don't know Andrew, but
the other thing that Hero does, which he sometimes hates, but every weekend, well, it used to be every day, but now it's every Saturday and Sunday in the mornings because we have to wake up and go to school and there's a lot going on. But Saturdays and Sundays, he has to present me with 2 inventions before he gets to watch cartoons. And so now he basically is like, this is my new invention. The problem I'm solving is, and then he's like, and so he literally he's probably presented me with hundreds and hundreds of inventions, one of which is the exact same thing as what Jeff Bezos is doing. And he didn't even know that. Basically, he was like, he goes, this is my new invention. The problem I'm solving is the trash problem. And he goes, what if we can create a machine that can take all the trash and put it in outer space? Because that's what Jeff Bezos is doing. It's taking trash and putting it in outer space. And so that's like one of his inventions. And recently he came up with an invention, which I post on Instagram, which is creating a machine that you put acid. He goes, you put acid in this machine, and then you spits you out, and it makes you kinder. And I'm like, he makes the world a better place. And I was like,
Oh
ooh,
my
that's a good idea.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
man. I love kid logic.
I
It's the
know.
best. Tap into that. Talk, talk to me about storytelling. I love this, this problem, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? And like, the way that he's approaching this, certainly that's how you've approached this. How important is storytelling to business?
I think it's everything to actually get a new idea through. It's actually a combination of, I actually have a thesis around how to change culture. So it's three prongs.
Yeah.
Prong number one is that it's accessible, relatable language. It's storytelling. It's like, how do you talk about something new, like you're texting your best friend? Like it has to be something that feels super relatable and like
Right.
it makes you, and it's repeatable. Like oftentimes people are like, so my new idea is this thing that is a thing. And then it's like, can you repeat that to someone right now? If the answer is no, it stops at you. If the
Right.
answer is yes, if it can be repeated, then that's how it proliferates and keeps going, And
Yeah.
so having accessible, relatable language that's repeatable and story driven is prong number one. Prong number two is harnessing art. And so like creating artful design across every touch point of the brand, which just basically means like when you're talking about specifically unmentionables like periods and poop or whatever,
Mhm.
most of the time when people see our stuff, our ads, our campaigns, they're like, wow, that's so beautiful. It's so artful. And they're like, oh my God, they're talking about poop. And so, but their first reaction was a heart open. And
Yeah.
so it's just a foot in the door to then pry it open to be like, actually try something new. And so it's like having a beautiful design opens your heart, accessible language opens your heart even more, and then having the best in class product. Then it's just like, oh, this thing works. It's amazing. It's artful. It makes me lean in. It's talking to me like my best friend. I feel like I know this thing. And then it
Yeah.
changes culture like that. It's highly spreadable, highly shareable. And I think a lot of times people are academic, clinical, medical, technical about the new thing they're launching. And then people are like, huh, I don't get it. I'm out, versus like, let me tell you a story about what happened to me. And like, they're like, oh yeah, this story. Or like, a bidet that washes your butt after you poop. It's like a precise shower for your butt, like whatever. And just like,
Yeah.
people like, what's a bidet? It's like, oh, precise shower for your butt. Like and then like,
Got
oh, a
it.
bidet is a precise shower for your butt. Like, whatever. Or like, the period, like I period underwear. That's actually it's quite easy. It's like underwear when you're on your period to stop you from leaking, and whatever. So it's easy to share. Like alternative pizza concept. It's like, it's like right now, like regular pizza makes you feel bloated and gross, and you feel like, like you have to fart constantly because it's full of, just dairy and processed everything. Whereas
Yeah.
gluten-free, farm table, local, seasonal, that's just good for your system. That's what Wild is. And so just very simple, like, oh, I can hang my hat on those things. I can easily tell those things and I can repeat them to somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. So,
What did it, we've got, you talk about creating memorable sales tools or selling tools for every person in your business. Is that what you do? Like because you're giving people stories, you're giving them gifts of stories that they can then share. And it's across all aspects of your business, I would assume. Like everybody, within your orbit, I would think probably speaks the same language or is as passionate. Maybe.
yeah, I mean, I love my friends. I mean, they say that you're the average of the five closest friends you keep, and it's, I think like literally my 20 best friends are all like passionate, entrepreneurial, creatives, artists, just like are lit up by life, and I think
Nice.
that's the word. It's like lit, like they're just
Yeah.
alive and lit, and they're not like too cool for school. They're actually like really into the thing they're working on versus like, yeah, it's this thing I'm doing. It's whatever. It's actually like, stop the presses. Let's have a fam jam about this thing. Like, it's like very like, and I think it's just easy to be cynical because people on social media are such bitches these days. And it's just easy to be like, care less, be just super
Mm.
not whatever, to not ruffle any feathers. But it's like, if you're doing anything of note, of value, you're just not going to be liked by everyone. People are going
Yeah.
to be jealous, envious. They're going to want to hate you. They're going to hate on your ideas. They're going to want to maintain status quo, and they're going to just talk shit about the thing. It's just a not non-stop thing for anyone who's trying to change culture, shift the status quo. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
I've definitely had to learn how to have a thicker skin because I'm very sensitive and very delicate, and I've dealt with lots of shit being thrown at me. And so, like,
How did you
that's
deal with that?
having the most epic friends and community and
Nice.
family, and like people, and like just friends. My community, my tribe, like, really protected me, lifted me. Also, like, having the best coach was so helpful during that period of
Mm.
time for me. It was like critical in getting me out of like really like experiences, and also having a really great lawyer to fight the nonsense. And it's just like, and then when you like, it's like, for me sometimes when it comes to like that kind of stuff, it's like you're just like, I want to protect my space and my energetics. I
Yeah.
will leave the professionals to it. It sucks to have to like dole out cash. It's not even like something that you should be dealing with, but like,
Yeah.
you know what? Handle it. And then that's it. So like, it's scary when it's like, when you're not, when you like don't have a lot of money, or you don't have a lot of, but the challenge is like, most people come after you when you do have money. Most people come after you when you are somebody. Most people come after you.
Right.
So it's like, on one hand, like, so many of my friends who are like super successful entrepreneurs called me up during these crazy moments, and they're like, welcome to the club, and it's like,
Wow.
it's very much everyone who is someone doing anything of value, of note, of, in the world, have had a takedown of some sort, of had some kind of really, really painful experience of legal things, some class action, whatever. It's like, there's so
Yeah.
much nonsense that everybody wants to believe, because they just are like, see, that person's not as great as we thought. Like, like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
just makes the person feel better about themselves not doing the thing, versus actually being in the ring and just doing the thing. And,
Yeah.
so it's certainly like, all my entrepreneur friends who've experienced like that are also sensitive, like caring, like loving people who've been through and have had to go through a lot of work. I went through 4 years of trauma therapy after my crazy experience that I went through, because I was so traumatized by I was
Oh my
pregnant, I was
gosh.
hormonal, it was a lot of stuff I had to unpack within myself. But I went through like, it was a very, like, for me, going through like any type of something that was like unexpected, it was like, a sucker punch almost. It's sort of
Yeah.
like, I literally, like, learned, like, just it's a school of hard knocks. Like, you actually, it's part of it. And I actually I'm better for it. I'm a much like more empathetic person now. I'm much more, like, softer. I just feel like I get the textures of experiences that everyone has in such a deeper way, because I've experienced it all. So many of these
Wow.
experiences as well.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry that you got to go through that stuff, but I mean, I guess,
But no, actually, I wouldn't trade it for the world,
yeah,
actually.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, you have to. It's like a hero, going moving up a level, right? It
It's a
might suck
hero's
for a
journey.
bit.
It's a hero's
Yeah.
journey.
Oh, that's lovely. uh,
It's
can you talk to me a little bit about this this statement? Iteration is perfection.
Yeah. Iteration's perfection, stagnation is death. The idea that it's not about being perfect. That's perfect. It's about making micro improvements forever. That's the game of perfection. It's
Mm.
not, I got to the end of the tunnel and you're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And so there's no like, this is why, like, I find the whole like fallacy of like, when I'm 65 and retired, it's like, actually, like, you're just finding the lit path. In my book Disruptor, I call it the lit path. It's like, you're finding your lit path your whole life. Like,
Yeah.
what lights you up, and you follow that, what lights you up. And yes, there's mundane wax on, wax off parts of every job and everything that you do. And there's hard things all the time. But like, there's this aliveness that comes over us when we know that that's what feels amazing. And you want to keep following that even when it's hard. Um, so yeah, I think it's really about like the micro adjustments and not about it's kind of like the analogy I give in my book Disruptor is the scout. A scout is someone who like enters a forest by himself, oftentimes before like a whole community or people come through the forest. A scout goes and finds the best route to get to the other side, and oftentimes runs into a fallen tree, a ravine, a bear chasing it, like whatever, like all kinds of different obstacles in their way. But they're not going to be like, I failed, I'm not perfect. They actually just go back and go a different way, and they go a different way, and they try a different route, and they figure it out, and they eventually get the other side. And I think it's like we have this notion of like what perfection is, and it's a thing that's easy. It's a one. There's no, but it's always like trying to figure out like what, like just constantly making improvements, going back this way, changing directions. Like that's the juice of life. Actually, it's not about being perfect. Like that's why I feel like the world of women with like all the things that we're trying to do to manipulate everyone, trying to manipulate the perfection notion versus like just like we're constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly developing, and it's all so beautiful if you just allow it.
Oh man. So Miki's walking around her lake. I'm calling it your lake.
Yeah.
and you're thinking about stuff, life, the universe, and everything. And what is the one thing? It could be more than one thing, but what is the one thing that jumps into your mind that you just wish the world knew?
In general, or
just in general, just like it's just a thing that you're just thinking.
I wish the world knew that we're all seeds. Like that we're all seeds that can keep being replanted and grow into new things, and we can reinvent and recreate and create and create and create. The creation process is constantly a cycle of birth, transformation, death, birth, transformation, death. It's just like this constant thing. And I feel like there's so much stagnation and holding on to and gripping versus just like loving with an open palm. It's like, how do you love life with an open palm, people with an open palm? There's no raspy or gripping. It's like, how do we feel the most free in ourselves? Because when we're free of judgment, we're free of anger, or like the agony of like just the self-loathing, which then comes out in loathing of others. And it's just letting go and just being free. And like freedom doesn't mean just financial free, it's just like being able to just let go of the grip on everything. That's it. Like I think that's the key. And actually from that place comes flow state, comes creativity, comes like all the magic of like of life comes from you. Like you loosen the grip. You're just no longer, you're not white. Because you just make so many mistakes when you're like hanging on, and you act crazy. Like people do dumb things when they're gripping versus just like when there's wars going on, it's like two sides fighting. Just like let go of like all the things. Just find a way. Like it's just open your palm and just like get free yourself, free others, like do the work. Like it's just most people don't want to see what's in their blind spots. They're too scared to look.
Right.
And that's the hard part for me.
Wow. What's one of your guilty pleasures? What's something that you do just for Miki?
Oh, I get 5 hours of body work every week. I don't own a single purse. I have a couple pairs of shoes. Like I'm not like a materialistic person in any way.
Yeah.
I get 5 hours of body work every week. I do 3 hours on Wednesdays and 2 hours on Fridays, and it has changed my entire life, my system. I did my function health labs, which is like this lab test, and you can get your biological age. Your biological age.
Yeah.
My biological age is 28 and I'm 44. And so, yeah. And
Nicely
so
done.
like, yeah, I take my vitamins every day, and I owe a lot to the body work. It's like, we don't have anything if we don't have our health. Yeah. And so like, I don't care about stuff. I care about my body. I care about my health. I care about my family's health. I care about I care about creativity. I care about inventive, but like stuff is not a thing for me. And so, although I do have a Cybertruck and it's the greatest thing ever.
You have a Cybertruck.
I got the Tesla Cybertruck, the first one ever. And it's pretty insane. I would tell you that much. But it's the electric car, and I wanted an electric car for so long. I've had a hybrid before, and this is my first full electric car, and it's pretty crazy. I have the first one off the press, the first Cybertruck ever. Crazy.
Damn. Holy crap. That's really cool. My parents have.
If you go to my Instagram, you can see a music video that I shot with some girlfriends coming out of the Cybertruck.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Is it ugly pretty? It feels like it's ugly pretty.
I've always been obsessed with DeLoreans from Back to the Future.
Right
DeLorean from that. So I've always been a Back to the Future fan. And so at first I was like, I didn't even know what a Cybertruck was 6 weeks ago, to be honest. And so I kind of got it through connection with whatever. And so I just was like, this looks like a DeLorean. And I love Back to the Future. I know every word and line from that movie. So I'm just like, I'm getting a DeLorean. Doesn't matter. But it's from the future. It's a future DeLorean. It's
future
cool.
DeLorean.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like you've given so much great advice. I'm reluctant to ask for more, but I'm going to, because that's in my nature to just squeeze as much knowledge and passion as I can out of guests.
Great.
But of the people that are out there in the world that are stepping either into the abyss or they're about to go on this epic journey, what advice do you have for them from the other side? What would be the thing that you wish you heard, I guess?
Is solve a problem that matters. I mean, which I am. And I think that is what has led to the success, is because it's actually solving a real problem that people and planet are facing. And I just think people who just want to start something because it's like cool, or it's the new thing, or it's like crypto, it's like a financial, like money making gold rush. And I'm just like, wow, okay, no, like what I mean, no judgment, but whatever. But it's like, it's just, that's a money play. Like actually solve a real problem in the world. Like if you don't know what a problem to solve, go to the Millennial Development Goals. Like type in the United Nations Millennial Development Goals, and they'll just tell you. Like the guy who invented the mosquito bug net, and they're so cheap, 50 cents each. He's a billionaire because he solved the mosquito problem by just putting bug nets up in Africa. But he's but he's solving a real problem. So it's like, if you're actually interested in entrepreneurship, solve a real problem. Again, it can start with you. For me, I love solving my own problems, which then solves other people's problems, and solves planetary problems. I love that because then I use all my products constantly. I use things every month. I use Tushy every single day, multiple times a day. Like I feel it's just practical products that I use every day of my life. So like solve a real problem. Like my next solution that I'm focusing on is the plastic crisis. And we're solving that with plastic eating mushrooms. And stay tuned.
Mushrooms are so dope. I can't wait to talk to you about that one.
Yeah.
Fodder for another episode down the road. Because mushrooms also do a really great job on the human body too. Like I was talking with a guy who's got mushroom coffins, and you basically drop a body in the mushroom coffin, you turn into a mushroom.
Yeah.
Then you communicate with the forest, and like that's a whole other thing. Like I forget what it's called, that little layer of mushroomness under the forest. Somebody will write me and say what it is, but it's not mitochondria. It's something like that. Anyway, that's really cool. I can't wait to learn more about it. Miki, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Let me ask you one last thing. And feel free to think about this and get back to me if you want, but who would you like to see on this show? Like if you're listening to a podcast, what is the story that you'd want to hear?
You can interview my sister. She started Daybreaker, the world's early morning dance movement before work starts, crushes it.
What?
It's epic. It's like it's bringing joy to so many people. It's insane. Like millions of people.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Let me connect you to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. That'd be so great.
Yeah.
Oh, kick ass. Well, Miki, you kick ass. Everything about you is just so on brand and perfect. And I really, truly do appreciate the time that you spent and what you shared.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thanks for curiosity. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for listening. I've been your host, Michael Dargie, and this has been the RebelRebel Podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. And hey, if you're a rebel or you know a rebel, why don't you head on over to the RebelRebelPodcast.com and fill out our guest request form. We'll get back to you within 24 hours, and maybe we can share your story with the world. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And thanks so much for listening. Until next time.